Today on the program, we're talking about one of the most important mission fields in America, the college campus. Our guest is Hugh Griffith, who, along with his wife Linda, spent many years leading the Wesley Foundation at Mississippi State University. Hugh now serves as Campus Ministry Director for the Mississippi West Tennessee Conference of the Global Methodist Church. We're going to talk today about Hugh's journey into ministry, the transition from the United Methodist Church to the Global Methodist Church, and perhaps most importantly, what he's seen among today's college students, their questions about faith, the challenges they face in an increasingly counter-Christian culture, and the opportunities to introduce students to the hope and truth of Jesus Christ. Hugh, welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Thank you, Byron. Good, doing well.
Before we kick off here, Lifeway Research has reported that more than two-thirds of 18 to 22-year-olds leave the church, and Lifeway study found that 34% of young adults, nearly half, said moving to college played a big role. Mm-hmm. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised, and that's really not anything new. Those are current stats, but I don't know that that's anything new. I think there's always been that, unfortunately, that experience for some who go to college. They go to college and may leave behind their faith.
We're going to dive into some of that, but before we get into the campus ministry, Hugh, tell us about your story. Where did you grow up? How did you come to faith in Jesus Christ, and what ultimately led you into the ministry?
Yeah, the quick of it is that I grew up in Picayune, a small town in South Mississippi.
Can you say that again?
Picayune.
That's the first time I've heard of Picayune.
Yeah, it's about halfway between Hattiesburg and New Orleans. But that's where I grew up, and from there went to college at Mississippi State. That's where Linda and I met, and married soon after we finished there. It was during my time at college that faith really grew. I grew up in a Christian family, in a Christian home, with a genuine faith. But for me in college, it was a time of just deepening that and claiming it, owning it for myself, and just going deeper with it. And part of that came to be a called ministry that I came to understand clearly last semester of my senior year. And that led, after we got married, that led us to Wilmore, Kentucky, where I went to school at Asbury Seminary. And after seminary, served a couple of years in a church, and then had the opportunity to step into campus ministry at Mississippi State way back in 1992.
Well, as I mentioned, you and your wife, Linda, spent many years leading the Wesley Foundation at Mississippi State.
Right.
What did those years teach you about college students, their spiritual questions, and their need for the Christian community?
Yeah. I think consistently through all those years, the college, I saw that the college years are about faith, owning it for yourself, and just taking it to a deeper place. It's about relationships with friends, with family, romantic relationships headed toward marriage, and it's about future. Kind of those three F's: the faith, family, and friends, and then future. Those have consistently been the kind of the three front burner issues for college students through the years.
Those are 3 points that we need to all, as Christians, make sure we're focused on, right?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I love that. So after spending so many years in campus ministry, what keeps you passionate about reaching college students? What is it about that particular season of life that makes ministry to students so important to you, Hugh?
Yeah, back in the beginning when Linda and I first were discerning the move into campus ministry, and by the way, in those early years, Linda also was doing Wesley Foundation work at Mississippi University for Women, but it was in our experience that those college years were so formative for not only for faith then, but for next steps for the future. That out of our own experience, it was so formative that we just really felt compelled to be a part of that with students, and that has just continued year after year after year. The opportunity to be a part of college students' lives in a way that impacts their future. I mean, if you shift a trajectory just slightly at one point in your life, and then you play that slight shift out over the course of years, you arrive at a very different place. So even the slightest shift in someone's faith and discipleship during their college years, if they follow that out, it leads to a very different place from where they otherwise would have ended up. And even more so when you consider a dramatic shift in somebody's faith and discipleship, how much of a difference that makes, and a different place they land.
Yes. That is a really good insight. That trajectory can be so crucial that we are on course with Christ, His Word, the fellowship of other believers. I mean, setting that foundation and really setting that foundation on our own, because once we do leave the home and we get into college, we have a choice to make.
That's right.
Don't we?
That's right.
And so, students can make the choice, learning how to own that relationship with Jesus. And I think, Hugh, too, it's not just a church thing, but it's really a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I think students have to discover that.
That's right. Yeah, I think of Paul writing to Timothy, and he says, Timothy, I know your faith. I know where you came from. I know your heritage, Eunice and Lois. But now I challenge you to fan into flame the gift that is within you.
Yes.
It's like Timothy grew up with it, but then there came that point where what he'd grown up with needed to be fanned into flame, into full flame.
Yes.
And that's a pretty good image for campus ministry.
Hugh, you serve as the campus ministry director for the Mississippi West Tennessee Conference of the Global Methodist Church, as we've stated. What does that role involve, and what is your vision for campus ministry across Mississippi and West Tennessee?
Yeah. That role it's a very part-time role. My full-time work is the campus ministry at Mississippi State, but in that part-time role with the conference, my job is to help collegiate ministry happen in our conference, which is the western part of Tennessee and all of Mississippi. We have a vision that every church would be a college church. Now, it's one thing for a church to be a college church if there's a college in your town. That's one way to go about it. You reach out to the college students who are coming to your town because they're part of that college. But every church can be a college church by loving, discipling, caring for the college students who are within their reach. And I would venture to say that every church has college students within reach, either members in their congregation or the children or grandchildren or grandchildren of your neighbor.
Yeah.
In some way, every church has a connection with college students. And to reach out and do the simple things, to send a note, send a text, send a care package, pray for those students, let them know you're praying for those students, ask them how you can pray for them. Those little things are ways to make every church a college church and everybody a campus ministry.
And
that's our vision.
And that investment that a church would give, I mean, the payoff for eternity, ultimately, if you think about those little small tangible ways to show the love, show the support, can keep that trajectory, like we were talking about, on the right path.
Right.
Hugh, you spent much of your ministry life within the United Methodist Church.
Yeah.
What was your experience during the years leading up to the formation of the Global Methodist Church? Did you have concerns about making that change?
When it came down to it, it was really clear, and there were not concerns about making that change. But in the years leading up to that, I'm not going to kid you, it was hard. The United Methodist Church was so good to me. In so many ways, the United Methodist Church nurtured my faith, gave me opportunities to serve in ministry, and I've got a deep love and always will have for that church. But as things shifted and as things changed, it became apparent to me that and Linda together that our time in the United Methodist Church needed to come to an end, and it was a long process. There was a long, slow shift, I would say, and a dawning reality that this is where things are now, and therefore a need to make a change. We were hopeful. We worked for a different outcome, and but that didn't come about. And
I was at the Global Methodist Conference, the Mississippi West Tennessee Conference back in May, and I asked that similar question to other guests that I interviewed. And when they got to answer, it became a tender moment.
It is.
And I can tell the same thing in your reaction, a very humble and tender moment, but the resolve knowing that you'd follow what the Lord wanted you to do.
Right.
And sometimes that's not easy, is it?
Right. there was a clarity about it when it came to it, but it was there's a grief about it as well.
Now, being part of the Global Methodist Church now, has that changed any way that you now approach campus ministry?
I think so much of what we do at Awakening Collegiate Fellowship at Mississippi State is built on what I have known and learned through previous years of campus ministry. So I would say that there's not a dramatic change in what we do. There is a big difference in the way we do it, and that's this, that in the first chapter of campus ministry for me, we had the asset of a building, a really nice building adjacent to campus. In this new model with Awakening Collegiate Fellowship, we don't have facilities. We don't have meeting space.
So you're kind of starting from scratch.
Right, we are.
Yeah,
We are.
yeah.
My office is my backpack, and wherever I drop my backpack, that's office space for the day. Maybe in the Union, or maybe in the cafeteria on campus, maybe in the chapel on campus. We meet for worship in campus facilities, usually the Chapel of Memories on campus at Mississippi State.
Isn't there something special about that, though, Hugh? Especially among students who are looking for reality, something that's real, and something that's not so program structured.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with programs, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But there's something kind of gritty about the ministry you're doing, right?
Turns out that it's a good thing for campus ministry to spend a lot of time on a college campus.
Exactly right. So we often hear that college students are living in an increasingly post-Christian or counter-Christian culture.
Yeah.
From your experience on campus, what are students actually wrestling with spiritually today?
I would say that there's just a desire and a drive and a hunger for something that's real, something that goes beyond just the answers, the easy answers. They're hungry for theology and doctrine and deep understanding, but what I see among our students is just a real desire for it to be real, and not just about information. And one small thing that we do that has really gained a lot of traction is we do a thing called house worship. And Linda and I just open our house every 2 weeks or so, and students come, and it's just a simple time of prayer and worship. It's not a real programmed. It's not a worship service. It's not programmed. It's not really planned. It's we get together and we pray and we sing songs and share some scripture, and that kind of small event, intimate,
Yes, yeah.
It just connects with students. I would say that house worship is probably the pulse of our ministry right now.
I could
Real
see
warm
how that
place.
would connect with students, especially when they miss home, and that gives them that feeling of home.
Another thing we do that is we have because we don't have a building with place for small groups to meet, and because we don't want to do everything in the student union or on campus, we do small groups in homes of local church folks who host a student Bible study. But they not only host and have the students there, but they also participate in the Bible study. So it's a small group Bible study of college students with an intergenerational vibe as adults ranging from maybe in their 30s up to their 80s actually participate in the Bible study with the students, and it's just come to be rich.
Hugh, this is phenomenal. This is truly beautiful. I love this. So what encourages you most when you look at today's college students? Are you seeing a hunger for Jesus and the gospel, and perhaps isn't always reflected in the national conversation about young people we see? Because you're right there with them.
Yeah. College students, Generation Z, as they're known, I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, there are statistics that say this about college students in Generation Z, and then there's another set of statistics that say other things. And yeah, just as all generations of college students have been, they're all over the board. But the students that I see responding to our ministry they're just hungry for something that's real and deep and true.
Yes.
And they value worship, they value community, they do want substance. But they don't want just like propositional substance. They want it through a relationship. There's a saying in the awakening community that awakening moves at the pace of friendship. And one of our core convictions is relational discipleship, that we strive to help students grow in faith and discipleship through relationships. Through sometimes that's one-to-one visits, sometimes that's through small groups, sometimes that's through a discipleship band that gathers for support and accountability.
Yes.
But in all these ways, we try to help students find what they're looking for through relational discipleship.
I think I can recall someone else that was really focused on relationships, and I believe that was Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah, spent 3 years walking with 12.
Yes.
Investing deeply,
Yes.
and I think there's our model for relational discipleship.
Exactly. Students today are exposed to an enormous number of competing worldviews through professors, social media, friends, entertainment, the internet. How do you help a Christian student develop a faith that can withstand those competing voices?
So true. There's so many voices, and I think a couple of things come to mind. One is to stand on God's word as our enduring truth. Among all the other voices, to choose for that to be the voice that we turn the volume up on and that we listen to most clearly and follow.
Yes.
I think another important thing is not to do it alone. To find community, like-minded, common ground with others to do life with, to find strength and encouragement in your faith and discipleship with. Definitely don't don't go it alone.
Don't do it alone, for sure. So are there stories of Christian students who have stood up in their faith in the classroom, on the campus maybe, then received negative responses from professors or other students? And I'm sure you might meet them sometimes in your meetings. How should a Christian student respond when expressing their beliefs at a social or academic cost?
Yeah. That brings to mind a student who last year in a class voiced a faithful opinion and was quite ridiculed by the professor as she voiced that faithful perspective, and ridiculed in that moment, but also challenged by the professor to come back in the next class period and even have somewhat of a debate with another professor that was going to be brought in to kind of take on this student. And in a very winsome way, she just was transparent and authentic. She might not have had all the answers, but she was just faithful and true. And I think you can't always debate down somebody else, and that's not even our job.
No.
But just to be faithful and true, and let the truth of faithfulness flow through.
We're not trying to win an argument. I mean, because I remember the late Adrian Rogers said, anything I can, talk you into, somebody else can talk you out of.
Yeah.
And so it's not a matter of that, right?
It's really not.
It's really not. So what can parents and churches do before a student leaves home for college to better prepare them spiritually for that transition?
Yeah. Start early.
Start early.
In the elementary years to build a foundation of faith that's going to be there. But it's never too late to start. So if it's a brand new conversation between parents and kids that are headed off to college, it's not too late to have that conversation for the first time right now about the importance of faith at college. And I think just to stay in touch, stay connected, not in an overbearing kind of way, not like texting every three times a day.
Right.
That's probably too much. But to have meaningful connection with college students. So I think that's for parents. There's one way for parents to stay connected with their college kids, and that's important. An old-fashioned phone call is really important, every week or so. But I think for a church, I think it is profound for a church for members of a church to send a text message, a handwritten note to college students who are headed off to college now, or maybe they're already there, just to offer them a word of encouragement, to let them know that they're being prayed for, to ask them, how can I pray for you?
Yes.
And you might even open up a back and forth relationship there. And even if you don't hear back from them, they got that note, they got that text, and they heard your heart in
Yeah.
that. But stay connected.
Yeah, good.
Stay connected.
That's a good word. So how do you find and recruit students? Are you primarily reaching students who already identify as Christians? Or are you intentionally trying to reach students who have never been involved in a church and don't know what a relationship with Jesus is all about?
Right. Our ministry draws primarily students who already are Christians, and they're just looking for community and growth in discipleship. But the strategy is that they then are the ones who are really connected with other students out on campus to invite them and draw them in. One of the best things that can happen at a campus ministry is for the students who are involved to bring their friends. And we loved seeing that in our first year on campus at State, as students who would come and connect would then reach out to their friends and invite them to be a part. We reach out to students in all the ways that you can on a college campus through orientations and organization fairs, those kinds of places where we can just cast a wide welcome. But the most important thing I think we can do is to show genuine hospitality to a student who walks in the door for the first time and let them know they're welcome and wanted, whether they're coming from faith already or if they're just exploring faith, and to come on in the room and to join in our community as we...
And there's nothing more powerful than that student that's already a believer inviting, like you said, inviting their friends.
Right.
Are there limitations on what the Global Methodist Campus Ministry can do on certain college campuses? I mean, what are the rules, the regulations for religious organizations, student organizations? Do you have issue with that at times?
Yeah, we've really run into no issues. In some places, on some campuses, I think there are limitations and restrictions, but we've not been hampered by anything in our work. We found administration to value campus ministry as an important way for students to be connected on campus, and to remain on campus because they're connected.
Okay, Hugh, as we wrap up here, if you could speak directly to a college student who's trying to follow Jesus in an environment where Christianity may be mocked, challenged, dismissed, what would you say to that student? And what would you say to parents and churches who want to make sure the next generation doesn't walk away from the Lord when they leave home?
Yeah, for the next generation not to walk away. I mean, the Psalm, it's 145, Psalm 145:4, just speaks of one generation telling the next generation, and that's what we want to see through Awakening Collegiate Fellowship, is that this current generation gets discipled very well and deeply into their faith and following Jesus, so that it's automatic that they pass that on to the next generation and then the next generation. Our hope is that Awakening Collegiate Fellowship would be there for generations to come. That's what we're up to. And what I'd say to that student who's in the throes of all the challenge that is college, said it before, but don't do it alone. Don't try to do it alone. Find community. If that community is just a handful of people, or if that community is a small group, if that community is a campus ministry or a local church, and if a student can layer their community, just maybe you have a friend or two that you really share closely with. Maybe there's a small group that you connect into and participate with. Maybe there's a larger campus ministry group, and then even maybe a different context on Sunday morning, to layer the support and the community that you have, so that that you're fed and nourished in multiple ways, not just in one way. And I think that builds a strong base of support. I
think that's a great word, Hugh. Well, our time has slipped. We're going to have to say goodbye now. But before we do, I'm thinking there might be parents or even students who are planning on going to college, and they might be coming to Mississippi State. How can they connect with you if they want to get involved with your campus ministry?
Yeah, hey, we'd love to see you there. A couple of ways. We have a website. It is awakeningmsu.org. That's a simple way to find us. We're also on social media, Instagram and Facebook, and our handle there is @awakeningmsu. Easy to find there. So those would be two primary ways to find us and connect with us. And Wednesday nights at 6:30 for all Mississippi State students.
Come on by, all right?
That's right.
And just look for your backpack. Right? All right. right.
Right.
Hugh, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Enjoyed the conversation.
Well, friend, Hugh Griffith is our guest today on Mid-South Viewpoint, who is the Campus Ministry Director for the Mississippi West Tennessee Conference of the Global Methodist Church. It's been our pleasure to have Hugh in. So grateful that he stopped by. And since he's just a stone's throw away in Starkville, anytime he's in the area, we're going to grab him, have him come back in and give us an update on what's happening. But we're going to say goodbye now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Byron Tyler, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.